In the past couple years, there has been a lot of different games that have come out, from God of War Ragnarok to Tears of the Kingdom, as well as games coming out later this year. Yet the question comes up, what is the future of games? More specifically, is open world the only future for games in general? And if so, what makes a good open world game? So in this video, we are going over all of that. So without further ado, make sure to like the video and let's get into it. There is no question about why everyone loves open world games. It's the constant wondering what secrets lie in the world in front of you, the combat, the story, and even the upgrading system. But here's the thing, as the open world style is becoming more popular, we have to ask ourselves what it will evolve into. Because you have games like Tears of the Kingdom, which are great and full of mystery and life, and then you have something like Starfield that looks fun, but is really just empty with otherwise bad gunplay and enemies. Anyway, the point is open world games are great, but you have to have certain elements to actually make a good open world game. The three main ones being story, the world needs to have a lot to explore, and the combat needs to be unique and challenging. First, let's look at story. Story is the thing that adds mystery to the game. It's the element that truly gives a game depth. So when story is put off to the side to make room for other things, it doesn't give you that experience you want playing a game. That being said, we have to understand what good story looks like, because it doesn't matter if the story is a huge part of the game if it's, well, horrible. Now, the three main elements I've found that make a good story are the characters, the main problem, and the actions you have to take to stop what's coming. An example would be God of War Ragnarok. This game has all three of these elements. The characters are incredible. The main problem in the game is Ragnarok, which could destroy the world. The way they react to Ragnarok makes you love the story even more. And finally, the actions and missions Kratos and his son had to go on to prevent the end of the world were excellent. Open world games also need to have a world that's not just barren. It needs to have things to find and explore, and not just repeating things either. It's actually not that common for open world games to be barren. Usually it's that all the stuff is repeated across the world, often making the game feel like there's nothing to find. Now, I'm not saying every single thing you find can never be found somewhere else in the world. All I'm saying is there should be more variety. Take Tears of the Kingdom, for example. It's a massive world, and yes, exploration is fun, but shrines are repeated everywhere. In open world games, you not only want the element of different unique places to go, but you also want to be able to go to places and be rewarded with something like an item or a weapon. Finally, we have combat. Now, combat doesn't have to be the same in every game like story in the world. In some games, it can be more free and creative, and in others, it can be more simplified but difficult. But nevertheless, you need to have a couple core elements. The first one being enemies need to be hard and have different attacks. Now, I've said this before, but it's true, and not all games do it well. Some games, the enemies have an overly simplified attack pattern, and it doesn't take long for you to understand how the enemy fights. And that's not a good thing, because very quickly the game will feel way too easy. The second one is a variety of combos, and this also applies to that more free kind of combat I was talking about. God of War again does this perfectly. You have three different weapons, but the amount of combos and skills you can obtain is very well done. And even for games like Tears of the Kingdom, where you can have several weapons at once, I would have liked to have seen more attack patterns for those weapon classes. Now, while we're on the topic of combat, I do want to cover the upgrading system real quick. Now, this more so applies to the God of War style, where you can have a few weapons that you upgrade, but it definitely still applies for a game like Tears of the Kingdom, and you can upgrade and acquire skills for weapon classes instead. The main aspect of an upgrading system can be simplified into three main things. Number one, the abilities need to be unique and used for certain types of enemies. That way, choosing certain skills over others is important. Number two, most of the abilities for your character or for your weapon need to be magic abilities, not just random attacks, otherwise the player won't care as much about upgrading a weapon. Finally, and this I guess more so applies to the armor, but the armor pieces and abilities need to be connected in some way. What I mean by this is certain armor pieces should have perks that enhance an ability in some way. Whether that be it lasts longer, it recharges faster, it's more powerful, whatever, but this should definitely be in games. Destiny 2 displays this perfectly. Certain armor pieces have a perk that enhances your magic ability or grenade. And that is my thoughts on open world games and what they should look like. Let me know in the comments if you think open world games will continue to take over the gaming industry. Also want to let you guys know that I am doing a set, so I'm also going to be including camera footage in the videos as well. It's taken a bit of time, but me and the team are working super hard on getting it done. And with that said, I'll see you in the next one.